What if the 2025 NBA draft happened right now with the order based on the Vegas win totals? Well, here's what the order would look like. With the last pick of the lottery, you've got Houston's selection being made by the Oklahoma City Thunder. Going up a little bit, you've got San Antonio with back-to-back selections at 9 and 10. A really interesting team to pay attention to as far as this draft goes as the season goes on, mainly because of the selection coming from Atlanta that has 0 protections on it. So even being right here at 9 and 10, they would have a combined 7.5% chance at landing the number 1 overall pick, a combined 34% chance at landing inside the top 4. If both Atlanta and San Antonio were just to fall a little bit further in the standings than expected, let's say the 6th and 8th spots in the lottery, they would be looking at a combined 17% chance at the top pick, higher odds than any other team. On top of that, while not all that likely, if the Bulls selection were to end up outside of the top 10, or somehow the Charlotte Hornets made it into the playoffs, they would be getting the rights to those selections as well. Now, in some years, including this most recent draft, a team like San Antonio landing the first overall pick wouldn't be all that interesting. However, as many of you know, this is definitely not one of those years. Now that we finally have basketball back, I've been having a lot of fun putting together and sweating out entries on PrizePicks, the sponsor for today's video. All you have to do is pick more or less on stats. They've got pretty much every stat from pretty much every player, and you can win up to 100 times your entry. One of my go-to strategies early on in the season is trying to figure out who the breakout players are going to be and taking advantage of their early squares before it's too late. Currently, my go-to player has been Jordan Hawkins, which has been working out so far. It's fun getting rewarded when your gut feeling about a player is right. So if testing out the accuracy of your NBA predictions, or you just want to make watching the games just a little bit more engaging than they already are, if you head over to that link in the description, then use code JIMMER when you sign up and place an entry of at least $5, they're going to give you 50 instantly. Also, keep an eye out, as with the start of the season, PrizePicks has been slinging out different promos. Thank you PrizePicks for sponsoring today's video. Jumping up to the top of the draft board, with the worst projected record in the league this season, you've got the Brooklyn Nets. Now keep in mind that when it comes to the top picks specifically, the Wizards and Trailblazers would all have the same odds for the selection, but with the win total suggesting that Brooklyn has the best chance to be one of those bottom 3 teams, they receive the pick in this scenario where they're gifted the chance to not have to make a decision at all. They select the unanimous top prospect in the class going to Duke this season, Cooper Flagg. It would really take an historically disappointing freshman campaign for the 6'9" forward to lose this spot at the top of the draft. Offensively, he brings a true wing skill set to the table. He's able to spread the floor, bring the ball up, and create for both himself and others. However, what's so unique about Flagg at this stage of his career is that nearly all that hype and excitement tied to his offensive ability is matched, potentially exceeded, by what he's capable of defensively. At 6'9" with an over 7-foot wingspan and a 40-inch vertical, the physical tools are all there. But when combined with his intensity, lateral speed, and instincts on that end, he's able to guard every inch of the court at a level rarely seen in the sport and truly built for the modern pro game. NBA Draft Room described him as the most instinctual and dominant defenders I've ever seen at the high school level, or at any level. Sports Illustrated said his unique combination of physical tools and mental processing on that end is unmatched. He has the potential to be one of the best defenders in the NBA one day. It was that side of the court that turned the heads of scouts practically since he stepped on the high school court. In a day and age where nearly every viral high school mixtape is flooded with crossovers and absurd dunks, you know you're dealing with a special talent when the player's ability to pin shots on the glass is what's grabbing the most attention. Now, a few months ago, the hype coming out of high school was obviously already crazy for Flagg, but this summer, we saw that go to new heights when he was given the chance to practice against Team USA ahead of the Olympics. There, Flagg was running the offense, taking it coast to coast, knocking down threes, and scoring in isolation against some of the best players in the league today. Once I saw this play, it became clear to me, Flagg was as much of a can't-miss prospect as there is. He's taking the ball up full court with one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA and Drew Holiday glued to him. He manages to create some space, then uses the screen to get AD switched on, and he drills the contested 3 off the dribble. His performance not only had scouts and fans fully bought in, but now some of the top NBA talent that were getting the chance to see it firsthand. Oh, and by the way, he's still 17 years old. Come the start of his rookie season in the league, he'll still be just 18. Kevin Durant said, "He looks like a hell of a player. He is 17, coming in here playing like a vet almost. No emotion, just going out there and doing his job." Devin Booker said, "You see how bad he wants it." Arguably the best player of the modern era, LeBron James said, "He's going to be a big-time player here for Team USA down the road." His teammate on the USA Select team, one of the top rookies this past year, Jaime Jaquez, said, "To be able to do what he did, not even playing a college game, let alone an NBA game, there's just no fear. It's relentless. He doesn't need the ball, he just finds a way to it, and the ball finds a way to him. That's something you can't teach." So yeah, I think it's pretty clear that the confidence level for Flagg entering his freshman season is at levels we've potentially never seen at the college ranks. So if the performance lives up to the hype, we're going to be in for another all-out race to the bottom, and it would be shocking to see Brooklyn not doing everything in their power to be leading that race. Now, while it's obvious that a majority of the attention at this point in the draft is concentrated at the very top, that doesn't mean there aren't plenty of potentially franchise-altering prospects in this draft. One of those players is Ace Bailey, who ends up as the second overall pick to the Washington Wizards. Right now, many look at the 6'9" wing as the most promising scorer in this draft class, and someone that in most years would be the projected top pick at this point in the year. With him already drawing comparisons to the likes of Tracy McGrady and the recent top pick Brandon Miller, you get a pretty good idea of the type of player we're dealing with. He's a two guard in a power forward's body. He's an explosive athlete, able to put opposing defenders on a poster. But that raw talent is also paired with a smooth touch and a capable shot-making ability from distance. The comparison I really can't unsee right now is a bigger Shaedon Sharpe. But unlike Shaedon Sharpe, we should be getting the chance to see plenty of Bailey at the college level this season. He's expected to be looking at a massive role joining Rutgers this season, where he's going to face little competition for touches. Washington's been starting to build out a really solid young core, but as of right now, it still appears they're a long ways away from climbing out of the bottom ranks of the league. Landing a player like Ace, however, has a chance to expedite that process a whole lot quicker. At 3, we see the Portland Trailblazers, who grabbed the last of the early consensus top selections. 6'5" shooting guard, who will also be attending Rutgers this season, Dylan Harper. As of right now, nearly every outlet has this as the top 3 in the draft. From this point on, you're going to see the draft boards differ quite a bit. Now, Dylan Harper, the son of 5-time NBA champion point guard Ron Harper, is coming out of high school as the #1 guard in the country, and for good reason. He's got plenty of size at 6'6" with a 6'10" wingspan, and is the definition of a shot creator, both inside and out. Now, if the production's not there for Harper this season, he doesn't have the same physical tools like Flagg and Bailey to fall back on. We have seen plenty of recent top recruit guards not go close to where we expected a year out from the draft. But right now, very few are expecting that to be the case with Harper, especially with how refined his game is from outside. The Detroit Pistons are at 4, making their 5th top 5 selection in the last 5 drafts. At this spot, you'll see a few names mixed in, but the most common today is Nolan Traore, our first international player to come off the board, but one of the many French players we've seen over the last few years hear his name called very early in the lottery. Traore is a 6'4" point guard coming off his 3rd season playing in the French LNB. In his most recent season, he averaged 11 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists, while shooting 54% from the field. Now, as many of you know, stats for young players playing pro in Europe rarely tells the full story. His 18 points and 4 assists in the Nike Hoop Summit against the likes of Cooper Flagg and Ace Bailey, or his record-breaking 45-point outing in the Adidas Next Generation Tournament Finals, probably give you a better idea of the talent we're dealing with. He isn't bringing elite size to the table, but he's a blur on the court and is crafty with the ball in his hands. NBA Draft Room went as far as to say, shades of Kyrie, a lofty comparison to say the least. But right now it's clear that he is being looked at as the best French guard prospect since Tony Parker. Hopefully, this one works out a little bit better for the Pistons. Then we see an end of a prospect tier at 5, where the Utah Jazz are on the board and select Baylor freshman VJ Edgecombe, a 6'4" guard from the Bahamas that finished the year as the 3rd overall recruit on the ESPN 100. Now on paper, Edgecombe doesn't have crazy size at all. At the Nike Hoop Summit, he measured in at just 6'3" to go along with a 6'5" wingspan. but it really doesn't appear that his lack of length will be close to the deficit it is for most wings with similar measurables. At 19 years old, Edgecombe is built like an NFL linebacker while also touting a leaping ability that, while not officially measured yet, is undoubtedly well beyond the 40-inch mark. He's a freak athlete, nearly unstoppable attacking the basket, that more than likely will be spending a lot of his time living above the rim at Baylor this season. Now, while there's clearly a lot of excitement for Edgecombe, there is quite a bit that scouts are going to need to see from him on the court in order to hold on to his place this high in the draft, with there inevitably being plenty of draft board risers as the year progresses. He's currently expected to be a standout defender. That sentiment has to hold, and where he'll need to exceed expectations is from outside and in general as a perimeter creator. The Bulls are on the clock at 6. This is a range where you start to see very little consensus, so with how much is expected to change in this range of the draft, we're going to speed things up quite a bit. Here, however, Chicago grabs the third foreign-born prospect in a row with 6'6" guard Hugo Gonzalez. Gonzalez has spent the last few years playing for Real Madrid, one of the top international clubs in the world. Now there we haven't gotten to see too much from him, but after showing out in the Adidas Next Generation tournament, where he was averaging 18 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, nearly 4 steals and 2 blocks, he's quickly emerged as one of the top international prospects in next year's class. The Toronto Raptors are at 7 and grab one of the more exciting prospects in this class. 7-foot center from South Sudan with a 7'5" wingspan, teaming up with Cooper Flagg this season at Duke, Kaman Mulawach. From his time with the NBA Academy and playing at the international stage this summer in the Olympics, Kaman is quickly rising up the draft board on the back of his rarely seen combination of size, mobility, rim protection, and long-term potential as a floor spacer. The Charlotte Hornets at 8 grab another giant, 7'3" center out of Australia, Rocco Zakarski. Right now, most of Zakarski's damage is done right at the rim, but as his game inches further and further away from the basket, operating more and more out of the high post, and showing major improvements at the free throw line, we're seeing him viewed more and more as one of the top bigs in this class. The Spurs, as mentioned, hold both the 9 and 10 spots. With the first of their selections, they grab Liam McNeely, a 6'9" forward joining the back-to-back NCAA champions. McNeely, despite sharing the high school court with Cooper Flagg, still found a way to really stick out in this recruiting class. He's one of the very few players it's hard to envision falling much over the next year. He has the strength and foot speed to guard up and down the lineup, exactly what every scout wants to see from a player whose most notable trait is his ability from distance, an ability we know Dan Hurley's offense is going to make very, very apparent. Then they go with another wing at 10, but one with a much different skill set. 6'7" Drake Powell, set to play at North Carolina this season. Powell's an elite athlete with elite length, whose raw ability has scouts paying very close attention. The Los Angeles Clippers are at 11 and grab 6'6" shooting guard Trey Johnson, the 5th overall recruit in the country, playing at Texas this season. Now Johnson has elite size, but he's really gotten here on the back of his natural scoring skill opposed to physical dominance. Most of his production is coming off the dribble and beyond the perimeter. Throughout his time in the Nike EYBL, he consistently had one of the top combinations of both three-point efficiency and volume. If we continue to see the production match the skill at the college level, he is certainly a candidate to quickly fly up this draft board. With the 12th overall pick, the Los Angeles Lakers go with Yegor Demin, a 6'9" Russian point forward who most recently played for Real Madrid but this season will be attending BYU. Anytime you've got a prospect that's a 6'9" natural playmaker, it shouldn't be surprising at all to see heavy NBA interest. With the 13th overall pick, the Warriors are grabbing Ian Jackson, a 6'5" wing going to North Carolina whose skill set is far from refined but also comes with clear elite upside. He's considered by many one, if not the most impressive vertical athletes in this class. Rounding out the lottery, the Oklahoma City Thunder via the Houston Rockets go with Dink Pate, an oversized combo guard who, after playing with the G League Ignite this past year, decided to stay in the G League and join the Mexico City Capitanas. For Pate, the frame, the physical tools, the coordination are all clearly there. But this year, we're going to have to see a lot of improvement from the 35% from the field and 21% from distance we saw from him last year in order to stay in this range of the draft. So there it is, the current way too early 2025 NBA mock draft.